why are our roads so rubbish in the rain? I mean, potholes everywhere. Country New South Wales, more than 135 potholes have had to be fixed. They're only the ones that got fixed since February. New South Wales government's rushed out funding to fix another 400,000. In Victoria, same story, the rain causing hundreds of thousands of potholes that are bursting tyres and forcing cars off the road. My wife has now burst 2 tyres herself in just 1 month. In Cristobal, which is not far from me, one tyre repairer had to fix 19 cars in a single day, 19 that had hit a pothole. Now, what is it with our roads? It seems we haven't built enough with good camber and some sort of runoff on the side to keep the water off the road. In some areas, the base of the road isn't good enough, and maybe the asphalt is just too thin. Seems politicians maybe figured that, it was cheaper to build a cheap road and just patch up the holes and flat tyres than to build a good one. Well, what can we do? I mean, these potholes are so big that someone's going to get killed running into them at speed. Joining me is a man with an idea. Cristobal is a research associate at the Swinburne University of Technology. Cristobal, thank you so much for joining me. First of all, just tell us what does cause so many potholes to appear when it's wet?
Right. Thank you. That's a very good question. So essentially, the way water infiltrates through your road, if you can think of your road as having different layers, one of them, which is the one we all see, which is our nice asphalt, when water seeps into it, it creates, imagine like a small bubble, and when we put pressure into it by our car tires, these tend to burst, perhaps. And this is what creates these cracks or potholes. When there's a lot of rain, a lot of cars, we get bigger holes, bigger issues.
It seems a heck of a lot. I mean, I've seen roads in Europe that cope with a lot of rain far better than ours. Maybe we should just build better, don't you think?
No, that's a bit of a stretch. Essentially, we have a lot of different challenges than Europe does. We have a larger roads network. We have a bit of a larger differential in temperatures than Europe does. For example, we have a lot of rainy seasons versus a lot of dry seasons, and asking our pavement to do both can be quite wearing depending on the maintenance we do to it.
Well, that's where your idea comes in, because if it is far too expensive to build far better roads over such a huge area, yes, you have a very interesting idea about preventing the worst from happening. Tell us about it.
Yeah, so the philosophy goes, if we can prevent something, we should do it, right? So one of the issues we have here in Australia is that a lot of local councils will, manage large networks of roads, and they're hard to maintain and, cost people, etc. So what we proposed is essentially flying drones to take footage of our roads. This footage is converted into a model, a 3D model, which has a mesh that we can use. The same images, we apply what is known as machine learning. And this machine learning allows us to understand how cracks appear and how they could, get larger or smaller or change with the passage of time. When we do this over a couple, passes over time, we can start predicting when and where those holes will appear.
And that means we can patch the area of road before it actually develops a big hole that could burst your tyre.
Correct. So we get the option of choosing which ones we patch rather than waiting for someone to call in or for an accident to happen or for something to be obviously large. We get to prevent, we get to fix it before it actually occurs. And we get to be pickier and wiser with our money, our expenditure.
Now, in the sort of country area where I'm living, I sometimes see one of the Shire vehicles going up and down roads, just trying to check. Would a drone be far more efficient than that?
Right. So the drone allows you to do a couple of different things. It gives you that check with an additional bonus, right? Where rather than getting a report that you read once and perhaps dash away, we get a model that reacts with you. So if we do this, let's say twice, we don't just have 2 reports. We have a model that has data from 2 passes. So we build on top of it, and then we keep doing this over a period of time. What this model allows you to do is to make a virtual representation of your physical part and start predicting what your next pass will look like. So we get this prediction capability, which is a bit more effective than just doing this.
That's much better than a guy. But that's much better than a guy in a cab of a ute.
Yes, to an extent.
Well, what would the cost be, though? I can hardly imagine all these drones going up and down the roads, and you say a few times to keep predicting. What would it all cost?
So while we did the study, we did a small cost sort of analysis to differ whether it's the traditional method of getting two people in a vehicle versus the drone. The initial cost is relatively similar, but you get a more long-lasting effect, which is this further capability that you don't have. It does take slightly less time, as you don't have to stop, for example, to inspect features or cracks, because the drone itself will do the analysis for you once you bring it back to a base. So it's quite comparable, and you get a bit more added value, which is not something we have at the moment.
And of course, there's the preventative aspect too, that you actually prevent the damage first. And so my wife doesn't drive into that hole with my car and take it off the road for a while. Is there any interest in your idea? Because I think it's fantastic.
Yeah, there's we've collaborated with this research work in collaboration with Australian Road Research Board. So we've had some interest from them. I did my thesis was based on this, so it's quite a useful idea, and we've had a lot of positive feedback from this.
Well, we think we need some governments to come in and say, yes, absolutely, because we have got hundreds of thousands of these potholes appearing in our roads. It's incredible. Something needs to be done before people get killed hitting them, particularly in the dark at speed. I really appreciate your time. All the best, Cristobal Sierra.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We're still a country with some brains. Thank God for that.